Hello from France. Urgency and emergency status has been declared.
We are all diverse, and it is in that diversity that we find our strength.
This is my passport. It's called Haudenosaunee passport.
We must think globally and act locally.
It was here Allied forces landed on D-Day, marking a turning point in World War II. These waves carry memories of sacrifices. These winds whisper tales of unwavering commitment to protecting freedom, human rights, and peace. The years may pass, but the lessons of war are still inspiring us to continue the journey towards a more peaceful tomorrow.
La Normandie, depuis 1000 ans, a un rapport très particulier au monde. Elle a participé de plusieurs développements d'idées qui ont interféré ou qu'elle a légué un peu partout en Europe ou dans le monde. 1000 ans, pourquoi ? Parce que lorsque c'était un royaume anglo-normand, des fondements du droit ont été développés, une organisation de royaume, et ce fondement du droit est pour une part à la base du droit anglo-saxon, aujourd'hui encore. Et puis, cette région, comme beaucoup d'autres, mais cette région a participé beaucoup au développement des idées du siècle des Lumières. Un premier traité de paix perpétuelle, qui sera ensuite repris par le grand philosophe Kant, a été écrit par des cercles intellectuels et un philosophe de cette région. Et puis enfin, le début de la grande bataille qui marque la fin de la Seconde Guerre mondiale démarre en Normandie, après ce qui s'est passé en Méditerranée, mais tout le monde dans le monde entier se souvient des plages du débarquement, des plages du D-Day. Et donc, ce rapport au monde fait que la Normandie a un devoir de transmission aux générations futures, aux générations actuelles, et qu'elle s'efforce de le faire.
We live every day here with the footprint of World War II. But you know, many great moments in the history of Normandy and ongoing, consistent efforts like the reconciliation process, D-Day celebration, Normandy World Peace Forum, made this region as a symbol of peace for the whole world.
La chère Normandie pour la paix est née de la rencontre entre une volonté politique, celle du président de la région Normandie, et d'une volonté scientifique, celle du président du Centre national de la recherche scientifique, le CNRS, qui est le très grand institut de recherche français. Le président de la région Normandie avait créé le Forum Normandie pour la paix pour reprendre l'événement majeur du début de la fin de la Seconde Guerre mondiale, c'est-à-dire du début de la grande bataille qui mène à la fin de la Seconde Guerre mondiale, pour en faire une manifestation où se rencontrent les faiseurs de paix, où peuvent se discuter les conflits aujourd'hui. Et ce Forum mondial pour la paix, la volonté était qu'il y ait une chaire d'excellence scientifique. Cette chaire d'excellence scientifique a été confiée par le CNRS et par la région Normandie à l'Université de Caen, à la Maison de la Recherche en Sciences Humaines, où nous sommes aujourd'hui et dont j'assure la direction. Et nous avons proposé le thème du droit des générations futures, car ça nous semblait en même temps une réelle progression dans la réflexion fondamentale sur le front de ces idées et un lien avec la question majeure de la paix sous tous ses angles. La paix pour l'accès aux ressources, la paix en relation avec le climat, la paix avec la nature de manière générale, ce qui est un thème majeur de cette chaire d'excellence, Normandie pour la paix, droit des générations futures.
The objective was to create a chair that is not only academic, innovative, international and inclusive, but also involved in scientific diplomacy. So we held in April 2019 several meetings at Pace University with Tony Oposa and Professor Nicholas Robinson. And we drafted together 13 lines of research, and this was the starting point of Normandy Chair for Peace with the Earth.
It was in May 2022 that Normandy Chair for Peace came up with the idea of an international summer school where we would bring students from around the world to Cannes in France for a 5-day eventful experience. The 4 days in the lead up to the 5th day, on the other hand, was the training that students had to undergo, because on the 5th day, we came up with the idea that the students would enjoy being in a role-playing simulation game, which we call Meta Model United Nations.
L'idée de départ de l'école d'été était toute simple dans le fil de l'idée générale de la chaire. Elle était de rassembler en Normandie, non seulement pour une raison symbolique, celle de cet héritage de la Seconde Guerre mondiale, de cette grande bataille, de la faim, et de transformer cette situation de guerre en une situation de création de futur de la paix, de rassembler en ce lieu des gens, des jeunes, venant de partout dans le monde pour réfléchir et travailler sur les thèmes de la chaire, ce droit des générations futures, et de façon très appliquée, justement, dans cette préoccupation de la chaire qui est très académique et en même temps dans un lien avec la société civile, de travailler à la réflexion et la mise en œuvre de l'impact de ces idées dans les organisations et les négociations multilatérales. Et quoi de plus multilatéral que l'Organisation des Nations Unies, et donc d'avoir au cœur de cette école d'été une simulation de la défense d'une motion pour le droit des générations futures, telle que, et c'est une grande réussite pour tous ceux qui y ont pensé, telle qu'elle s'est exactement produite un an, presque, même pas un an, 9 mois après cette école d'été, aux Nations Unies, au printemps 2023. Eh bien, donc des jeunes qui venaient du monde entier, de tous les continents, la quasi-totalité d'entre eux n'étaient jamais venus en Europe, ont travaillé à la fois théoriquement et dans des exercices pratiques avec une équipe de formateurs venant eux aussi du monde entier à cette réflexion et à cette simulation.
The summer school was crucial to be held because it was in line with all the objectives of NCP. The idea of training on rights of future generation was new, so I first started by creating with Sciences Po Rennes a master degree entitled Future Generations and Legal Transition to train students here in Normandy. Then we wanted to spread this idea to the full world. That's why we invited students from different parts of the world and planted the seeds of the idea in their minds, so that they take these ideas back home and discuss with their teachers, class fellows, and community people.
We knew from the very beginning that this was going to be a huge task to organize what I dare say was an ambitious summer program involving a wide range of topics from peace, security, intergenerational equity. Emily was so passionate about bringing the best students, the best minds, the top professors, the best professionals in order to train local and international students and foster conversation, engage them in discussion in the hopes that at the end of the program, they will go back to their homes and share and enrich their country with whatever they learned from the summer program.
So we made a principle that every student must be selected and recommended either by an eminent professor or justice. French students of Sciences Po Rennes campus of Caen were also part of the summer school, and it was an opportunity for them to discuss these novel ideas with international students.
I'm doing PhD in environmental science. Summer school was a very big opportunity for me. If I talk about the selection process, so it was very tough. The call for the application was posted on our university Facebook page. There was more than 300 applicants.
I applied for the call for the summer school Normandy Chair for Peace because I was very interested in the topic they proposed to address. I know that it was a selection with many high qualified candidates, and I am extremely honored to have been selected for the opportunity to go.
It was very much enriching to learn more about the protection of the rights of future generations. I would say that my best experience was definitely the Model United Nations, where everybody was very much dedicated to this work.
I have been using performing arts as a medium of awareness for the past 4 years. And when the advertisement for the NCP Summer School was advertised over the social media pages, I applied for it. And my interview was held by the 3 panelists, and it was led by Professor Shakil.
Some students were funded by their own universities, others by NCP.
We were very pleased and fortunate to have participants from such diverse backgrounds. We have Himat from India, Gaia from Brazil, Ornella from the Caribbean, Taylor from Australia, Kenny from Singapore. With such rich backgrounds, the participants were not only learning from the professors, but were learning from each other, and that was very exciting to witness.
Rocío Catalán y Alejandra Bonón fueron las 2 estudiantes de Derecho que fueron a Normandía, y puedo dar testimonio de que esta fue una experiencia transformadora para ambas.
In the lead up to the International Summer School, we made sure that the students were well prepared. So we conducted Zoom sessions. We set up a base camp so that any questions, any documents were included in there. During the Zoom sessions, the students had the opportunity to ask us questions about the technicalities of Meta-MUN, for instance.
If they can introduce themselves, that will be nice as well.
Exactly.
I'm from the William S. Richardson School of Law.
Hi, my name is Eliza. I am from Brazil.
My name is Basilio Apolinario. I'm from the Philippines.
We are in Bolivia. I am a third-year law student at Pace Law School.
I'm Gaia. I'm from Brazil.
I am from the William S. Richardson School of Law at the University of Hawaii.
Le soir de l'accueil des jeunes étudiants et des équipes d'enseignants de l'université d'été, de l'école d'été, c'était une expérience à la fois intellectuelle et humaine extrêmement intéressante, rare au total, dans son ampleur, pour quelqu'un qui pourtant comme moi, et mon métier est de faire de la collaboration internationale, mais la diversité et l'échelle des jeunes gens qui venaient de tous les continents, absolument de tous les continents, ainsi que des formateurs. Ils n'étaient pas des centaines, ils étaient un peu moins de 40, plus de 30, moins de 40. Mais ils venaient de tous les continents, du Pakistan, d'Australie, de plusieurs pays d'Amérique latine, d'Amérique du Nord, d'Afrique, d'Hawaï également, d'Europe, mais en moindre quantité. Donc, vraiment de beaucoup d'endroits, et comme c'était pour la quasi-totalité d'entre eux la première fois pour les étudiants, pas pour les enseignants, qu'ils venaient en Europe, les rencontrer et voir leurs rencontres entre eux, leurs échanges, leurs différences de culture qu'ils partageaient très vite et des préoccupations communes qu'ils avaient. C'est pour ça que leur centre d'intérêt les avait amenés à cette université d'été, était une extraordinaire expérience Je le savais sur le papier puisque j'avais vu les provenances, mais vivre ça dans ce premier accueil, dans ce premier dîner où nous les avons accueillis ensuite au mémorial, qui est un lieu à la fois de mémoire, mais qui est un lieu de réflexion et un beau lieu d'accueil de la ville de Caen, était une expérience, j'espère pour eux, en tout cas pour moi, extrêmement intéressante, mais plus qu'intéressante, très riche humainement.
I landed in France to attend summer school with many new questions in my mind.
We knew that it would be complicated for the students if we talked to them about different concepts together in one sitting. So we divided the summer camp into 5 days to make it progressive for students like a degree program. Day 1, we explained to students why it's a historical necessity to develop laws protecting future generations. Day 2, we discussed about how human rights can protect future generations and the future. Day 3, we introduced the transcultural approach of making peace with the earth. So we invited indigenous peoples and explained to the students the abandon of the doctrine of discovery. Day 4 was dedicated to youth advocating for climate justice resolution, which needs to be passed by the UN General Assembly for an advisory opinion in front of the International Court of Justice. Ambassador Odotevi from Vanuatu opened the day. Day 5 was fun. It was D-Day. After 4 days of intensive training, we put the students to test and apply their knowledge at Model United Nations. It was held in a very historical place at Abbaye Dam, which is the Normandy region prestigious head office.
They rose to the occasion. They were all very prepared with questions themselves during the international summer school, coming up with questions that we also didn't expect to answer. And we were very pleasantly surprised at how prepared they were to take on more information than they had already learned in the months before, and also from university or wherever whatever their backgrounds were.
We decided to start the summer school with Tony, who is not just a lawyer, but also a poet and an artist. He is a storyteller. So he used his skills to deliver a powerful message for the students.
My favorite part. You may say, I am a dreamer.
Sir Tony is an inspiration and someone who is ahead of his time. I don't think there's anyone in the legal community, at least in the Philippines, who are not familiar with his landmark cases, which were basically the first of its kind. These decisions established legal precedents that are now being cited and emulated in courts everywhere in the world. And Sir Tony has not stopped fighting. He continues to inspire through his actions, his words, his deeds, and through his leadership. And as what he often says, inspiration is leadership.
The environmental law has really just begun. I mean, it's only in existence since the 1970s. That's a very short time. Making peace with the planet gives us a global thought. but the war on nature is being conducted locally.
Le professeur Robinson est un intellectuel de très grand niveau, donc cela n'était pas une surprise, c'était quelque chose de très important à apprécier. Et l'argument majeur qu'il a développé dans son propos, que face à une menace globale, qu'un phénomène face à un phénomène global comme le changement climatique, la multiplication, non seulement l'addition, mais la potentialisation, c'est-à-dire la démultiplication, une grande multiplication en quelque sorte, de quantité d'actions locales, était non seulement essentielle, mais la seule voie et une voie extrêmement productive de réponse et de prise en charge pour aller vite par les populations.
In 2019, in November, that the European Parliament issued their declaration. So the declaration that Europe recognizes that we are in a climate and environmental crisis. As you see, it's both climate and environmental crisis that has been declared.
Change the patterns of production and consumption, you have to go to the roots of colonization. You have to change economics. You have to make a revolutionary action.
My identity is intertwined with your identity, and it cannot be separated. I exist because you exist, because we exist. So everything is completely, utterly dependent on one another.
And when we talk about revolution, it does not necessarily means to erase everything and start from the beginning. No, the real revolution starts inside the things because it's working inside the institution.
Well, when we talk to students, especially to young students, we have an expectation because we understand that they can change things, they can improve things, they can take what you say and put it into practice.
Imaginez, si aujourd'hui vous dites à un enfant, imaginez un enfant veut faire quelque chose du bien et c'est un désastre. D'un point de vue éthique conséquentialiste, vous allez punir l'enfant. Pourquoi? Parce qu'il a créé un désastre. Mais si l'enfant, il voulait faire du bien et il en résulte un désastre, depuis quand on va dire c'est pas grave, c'est la bonne volonté qui compte.
My generation has failed the future generations. And let me conclude by reminding ourselves of a famous saying. We have not inherited the earth from our ancestors, we have borrowed it from our children.
We are in the midst of a sixth extinction period. An extinction period. We know species are going extinct because of our use and destruction of ecosystems and of other species. But it had, on the one wall, it has, here's the destruction of ecosystems, here's the restoration. Again, we're caught between these tensions of destruction, restoration, of hope and possibility.
Nous, humains, l'humanité est responsable à l'égard des autres espèces, à l'égard du vivant, tout simplement parce qu'elle a la conscience de ce qu'elle fait, alors que les autres espèces ne l'ont pas.
Corinne Lepage interacted with the students in order to invite them to become ambassador of her project. She has been leading an international campaign promoting the Universal Declarations of the Rights and Duties of Humankind since 2015, and students were absolutely amazed to meet her.
Non, hein. Mais tous ces sujets-là sont vus dans la Déclaration universelle des droits de l'humanité sous l'angle, précisément, non pas de droits individuels, mais de droits et devoirs de l'humanité. L'humanité étant définie comme étant la chaîne des générations, depuis les générations passées jusqu'aux générations futures, en passant bien sûr par les générations présentes. Et donc je pense que c'est un texte qui est vraiment très adapté aux problèmes de notre temps, et j'en ai une certaine preuve, si je puis dire, par les adhésions à ce texte et le soutien qu'il a reçu non seulement de très grandes villes, de barreaux, de très nombreuses ONG, puisqu'il y a 80 ONG qui soutiennent la DDHU, d'universités, mais aussi de grandes organisations comme Cité Groupements Locaux Unis qui regroupe 250 000 villes dans le monde, ou l'Association internationale des maires francophones, ou les parlementaires de la Méditerranée. Tout ça sont des organisations qui soutiennent la déclaration, dont nous souhaitons qu'elle puisse bien entendu progresser au niveau international et être un jour reconnue au niveau de l'ONU.
Bonjour à toutes et tous, merci de votre attention, merci d'être présents aujourd'hui. Un grand merci à Émilie Gaillard d'avoir organisé notre intervention et il me revient de vous exposer les travaux que mène la Commission Prospective et Innovation du Conseil national des barreaux en partenariat avec la chaire Normandie pour la paix.
Normandy Chair for Peace worked with Sophie Ferry, who is heading the Commission of Prospective at the National Council of Bars, which represents the 70,000 attorneys in France. She explained to our students how we drafted a resolution in order to promote rights of future generations in France.
Alors j'en profite en termes de responsabilité pour vous dire que on est tous ici. On a tous pris l'avion, le train. Ça représente un potentiel d'énergie dépensé énorme. Ça représente quelque part un luxe. On est content de nous retrouver là. Mais nous, on doit être responsable. Puisqu'on a été dans ce mouvement pour nous rencontrer dans ce colloque, eh bien, maintenant, en contrepartie, on doit être responsable. C'est-à-dire avoir des actions pour pouvoir compenser les vols qui ont été faits de par le monde. Merci. Voilà, donc je vous remercie.
Merci.
I'll tell you an interesting story. On the first day, the participants stayed in their own groups, but over the course of the program, it was interesting to see how they bridged communication and cultural gaps and started interacting with each other, this genuine exchange of stories from their own countries. And then they started dancing and singing and having fun together.
Gracias a la vida que me ha dado tanto, me ha dado el oído, que en todo su ancho graba noches, días, grillos y canarios.
During my stay at Cannes, the memories that I will cherish forever are the dinners that we used to have with Emily, Nicole, Charlene, and all the other fellows from all around the world. And we used to discuss over matters for long hours, and these are the memories that I will cherish forever.
My passport, it's called Haudenosaunee passport, and and I've traveled to 24 countries, you know, with the passport. And every time I travel, though, I have to get a visa. I ask permission of the country to let me in. Like the Turo, the nation-to-nation relationship, you know, we ask permission to go in. And if they let me in, fine. If they don't let me in, I don't go. Brazil won't let me in, so I don't go to Brazil, and it's Brazil's loss as far as I'm concerned. You know. And well, Peru won't let me in. Chile recently wouldn't let us in a few years ago.
Not a word about me without me. It means we don't talk about indigenous people without indigenous peoples. And the summer school made it, and it was a great achievement.
Development is not a bad word. It's how it's used. You know, we're talking about the right to development, or development means modernization or something like that. That's not how I look at development. I look at development as our choosing.
Inviter Kennedy, en fait, a été une évidence en tant que représentant Mohawk de la nation de Kahnawake, parce qu'il est l'un des symboles, il n'est pas le seul, mais de la lutte des peuples autochtones pour la reconnaissance du droit à l'autodétermination. Il est lié aussi à la Confédération iroquoise des 6 nations, donc, dont le chef d'Escaé était l'un des premiers chefs à se rendre à la Société des Nations pour la reconnaissance de leur nation autochtone. Et par ailleurs, Kennedy s'est aussi rendu auprès du pape avec une délégation pour demander l'abrogation de la doctrine de la découverte. Donc Kennedy, en fait, est un diplomate autochtone, un messager, et qui justement est un messager vers les non-autochtones pour une alliance ensemble et pour protéger, respecter les droits des peuples autochtones et protéger aussi la santé de la planète et la santé des peuples.
Soigner la terre pour que vous compreniez bien la révolution que ça pourrait représenter. Si on avait pas ça d'humilité, ça, c'est pas beaucoup, hein. Ça, c'est une image que vous pourriez prendre en photo si vous allez là-bas. Je vais vous montrer la même image vue par eux, par les chamans Kogi. Voilà la même image. Ça, c'est quoi? Quand je vous regarde, vous, là, je vois de la peau, des yeux, un nez, une bouche, voilà, un corps avec des vêtements dessus. Est-ce que je vois le système sanguin? Non. Le système ventilatoire? Non plus. Le système nerveux? Non plus. Le système énergétique, pour ceux qui pensent que ça existe? Non plus. Est-ce qu'ils ne sont pas là? Si. C'est même grâce à ces systèmes-là que vous êtes vivants. Pour les Kogi, un territoire fonctionne pareil. Toutes ces trames que vous voyez, les cours d'eau, les flux magnétiques, pour ceux qui s'y intéressent, les déplacements des animaux, l'impact des étoiles, c'est ça qui forge la force et l'identité du territoire. Donc soigner la terre, c'est conscientiser que le corps humain marche comme le territoire. Et ça, c'est pas autochtone. C'est autochtone au sens qu'ils en ont gardé la mémoire. C'est notre survie qui passe par là.
Alors pendant cette université d'été, j'ai essayé d'interpeller et de questionner les étudiants présents sur l'origine de la loi et mettre en perspective le fait que nous sommes confrontés à un espèce de double système de loi. Un système fait par les hommes pour les hommes, qui change un peu quand ça les arrange, et qui va parfois générer des lois qui vont contre la nature, donc contre nous-mêmes, puisque nous sommes des êtres de nature, avec tous les déséquilibres que nous connaissons. Il y a un système de loi qui est celui qui permet la vie. Ce n'est pas des lois au sens législatif, c'est des principes de vie que nous portons en nous, que toutes les formes de vivants portent. Si on les respecte, on peut imaginer que l'histoire va continuer. Si on va à leur rencontre, on peut penser malheureusement que l'histoire va s'arrêter. Et je pense que notre histoire moderne, et je pense que les étudiants qui aient pu être confrontés à cet état des lieux de la loi, ils n'ont pas souvent l'occasion de l'entendre, et je pense que c'était très questionnant, et j'imagine assez enrichissant dans leur parcours de formation. On a tellement oublié le vivant autour de nous et en nous qu'on a oublié ces lois. Mais est-ce qu'on peut longtemps vivre et développer nos activités en faisant abstraction de ces lois? La réponse est clairement non. Élisée Reclus, géographe du 19e, le disait très bien. Nous sommes la nature c'est l'homme, c'est la nature prenant conscience d'elle-même. À nous de faire le chemin pour reprendre conscience de la vie en nous. Tout est écrit dans la nature, il faut juste qu'on réapprenne à lire.
Éric Julien, en fait, c'est une personne à une approche particulièrement innovante en fait, du travail avec les peuples autochtones, à partir également des universités. Et d'une part, en fait, Éric Julien pratique la réciprocité. Donc la réciprocité dans les peuples autochtones nous apportent, on doit apporter aux peuples autochtones. Donc il a permis la récupération de plusieurs centaines, milliers d'hectares de terre Kogi. Et d'autre part, il pratique par exemple les dialogues croisés entre autochtones et non autochtones. Et son autre apport aussi sont ses réflexions, mettre en lumière en fait que la loi n'est pas la loi des hommes, mais que c'est la loi de la nature, que savent très bien interpréter les Kogi.
A group known as the Pacific Island Students Fighting Climate Change was the first to bring the idea of an advisory opinion on climate change to the Vanuatu government. Advisory opinions carry great legal weight and moral authority and contribute to the clarification and development of international law for all states.
Now, the summer school happened in September 2022, and for some of us, we knew that in August 2022, a very devastating flood happened in Pakistan as an ongoing effect of climate change. The students from GCU Lahore University prepared a very short clip to show what the flood was like in Pakistan. And because I was very emotionally affected by that video itself, I also felt that, issues like that in the global south are not taken up by mainstream media enough. So in order to pay our respects and in order to show our condolences and solidarity to the flood victims in in Pakistan, I decided to invite the participants in the room to stand up for 1 minute silence in a show of respect and solidarity.
We're not only thinking about the victims today, we're thinking about, future generations, people unborn. And, thanks to Emily and the Normandy Chair for Peace, we are bringing attention to the rights of future generations, the issues that are currently affecting future generations.
The title of my talk started with the phrase "raging rivers," and I was reminded of this by the powerful video that our friends from Pakistan shared with you. And my message to the Pacific Island students fighting climate change was that they were not alone. That I had worked with Justice Mike Wilson of the Hawaii Supreme Court, who has close connections with Jindal Global University. We have a representative with us today. They had an organization called The Final Stand, youth group. We also had I Am Climate Justice. There are Nicole, Asia Wee, a number of folks from the Philippines that were working on these issues, as well as New York. We have students from Pace University whose predecessors were heavily involved, and many other youth groups around the country, and we just said around the world. And I just suggested to them, find your areas of commonality. There will be areas that you disagree with, but work together. And it wasn't me, it was a student-led initiative that created the World's Youth for Climate Justice, which has rightfully been recognized for all of their hard work. But part of that ally relationship with that student-led initiative has been the Normandy Chair for Peace. The Normandy Chair for Peace has hosted an event at The Hague in 2018. Margareta Veverinki Singh was there and Tony Oposa was there. And really presented this idea, and it was very influential. And then in 2019, Tony Oposa presented a petition to the Philippine Embassy in New York.
Yes, over the past few days, I've just kind of been realizing that we're really blessed with this opportunity to be here, and thanks to the NCP as well, is that we're literally in the middle of this entire movement on climate change and future generations and rights for them. And so future generations, somebody can say that kind of era will start in 2030 or 2050, but future generations can be in 100 years, it can be in 10 years, or even in 10 months. There's young people that are, not even young people, but just people being affected all the time, and the future generation is, the future is literally the next second or the next minute, like that. And we're all in the same boat as well, and it's an analogy that Alan we were talking about earlier. We're all in the same boat, and we would be making it easier for everybody else and taking some of the weight off of other people's shoulders if we just work together. Because if you look at a boat, everybody has their oars, and if we stay coordinated and if we stay on the ball, and we keep building momentum.
We counter that with this is what's happening, but more importantly, this is what we can do. And just having that knowledge that sometimes you feel so helpless. Well, I felt like that the whole time, that I'm so helpless, that I'm so helpless about these things, and I empathize so much about what's happening in the Pacific, and sometimes that really burdens you. But I came across this book, and it was Sir Tony who shared this with me, by Rutger Bregman, Human Kindness, that he said that he doesn't really like the word empathy and would rather use the word compassion, because when you empathize with people, it limits you and it burdens you because you put yourselves in their shoes, so you don't know. It limits you because you feel like you can't do anything about it because it's too heavy, it's too burdensome. But when you're compassionate, you see it in a different lens, and now you're in. You don't put yourself in their position, but you see it in a different perspective. But that doesn't stop you from doing something about it.
There's a sort of concept in ownership that one has a right to do with what one owns. And this idea of ownership is what's has given rise to so much abuse of the natural resources and of the environment. But ownership is not the only type of relationship that humanity can have with nature and with the environment. There are other concepts of our relationship with the natural world, including guardianship, trusteeship, and global commons.
I think we should all give a round of applause for this whole event, which all traces back to Professor Emily Gaillard.
I would like to congratulate all of you, all the students. And my message is the following, is to have this spirit of shared leadership. Because Tony, his spirit is this shared leadership. Thank you to Dominic, because he has to work on the weekend. A round of applause for the techniques. And well, this is a special momentum. I think you all realize that. We are experiencing something we want to share. We want to inspire you, and you are our seeds of the future for rights of future generations.
The summer school was over, but it was not over, because it was time to the Model United Nations experience.
I hereby call the 77th session of the United Nations General Assembly session to order. Distinguished delegates of Vanuatu.
We believe that an advisory opinion on climate change from the ICJ will not just summarize states' existing obligations with regards to human rights and climate change, but it can also deliver a progressive interpretation of those obligations and make global progress towards intergenerational equity and climate justice.
The United States is open to proposals that protect future generations, but will not co-sponsor the draft resolution as is.
Bangladesh respectfully suggests you to stand in solidarity with future generations.
Brazil has the right to do what it believes is the best for its people and their livelihood.
We have to act now. There is not Planet B.
Russia will stand by Vanuatu, but we cannot, by any means, condone the West's colonialist behavior by agreeing to their terms.
And you can see the excitement of the students when they finally take a seat behind the placard that tells them what country they're representing. And they were already prepared. And you could see the excitement. You could see also that during the breakout for the caucuses, that they were taking their roles very, very seriously. You can see Kansai and ExxonMobil trying to lobby the countries that would probably play on their good side. You could also see Alibaba, all the tech giants, also influencing some other countries. You could also see Greenpeace International and Stop Ecocide International trying to lobby their positions and trying to make sure that, you know, certain things were being addressed by the countries that would take their side. So it was very rewarding.
Why we chose Vanuatu's ICJ resolution on climate change and human rights for our Meta-MUN. First, for its relevance, and second, because it's timely. Relevant because Vanuatu is a carbon-negative country, yet it remains to be one of the most vulnerable countries to climate change. And this resolution is a student movement. It started from the classroom in South Pacific. And second, timely because during that time, the Vanuatu was already drafting a resolution to be voted by the United Nations General Assembly.
There were a lot of highlights that I remember from the International Summer School. I'll name a few. One of them was to me the fact that students from India and Pakistan work together as Vanuatu, as the same country, having a common position, when in fact, you know, these two countries have always been at odds at each other. Now, the second highlight that I found very interesting was that USA, the students who played the role of USA, mentioned that current generations should also be considered in the resolution. The result was that both current and future generations were mentioned in the resolution that was tabled. Thirdly was the fact that the students had a surprise special message from the ambassador of Vanuatu to the UN, Ambassador Odo Tevi. He sent in a well-wishing message to the students. And then fourthly, of course, that the resolution that was tabled during a Meta-MUN was voted favorably with 8 yeses, 3 no's and 2 abstentions, and that actually meant a very successful resolution. In fact, Ellen and I, quite immediately after, informed the permanent mission of Vanuatu in New York about the results of the resolution, to which they were very, very happy about.
Students took this in a very realistic way. They really researched the positions of the governments that they were representing, because the governments who were voted during the UN General Assembly process. But they took, I would say, a constructive approach, not a deconstructive approach. Deconstructive approach is, which we find a lot in the international relations world, is where academics and students manage to explain all the reasons why things can't happen, why we can't have peace, why things, and they're very good at deconstructing the politics or even the law, as they say, in order to explain why things aren't good. I think that's a failure to do that. I mean, it's very important to have that understanding, but I think a constructive approach is much better, where the students are looking at how do we resolve the problems? How do we resolve these issues of interest that countries have in fossil fuel industry? How do we work on transition, which is really important?
And it's thanks to experiences like this that I can meet amazing people who are creating legal mischief. That's something that I really hope to do in my career. Thank you for showing me that that's possible, and for showing me that there are people who are successful but are still in the trenches with us, fighting it at a grassroots level. You guys are so inspiring. Thank you.
I think we were all changed by this experience, and we're going back to our countries and our respective communities with a different mindset, a different vitality and vigor to change and to create impact.
Armel Mpala, je viens du Cameroun, de l'université de Douala précisément. Alors, Monsieur Pascal, moi, je parle avec le cœur. Déjà, ici, je ne me sens pas représenté, ou je ne me sens pas représenté seulement le Cameroun, mais toute l'Afrique.
The chair has made a great effort to bring us, like, with the visa situation, there was a great concern that are usually only concerns for from people from developing countries or the global south, and the great challenge, and this has been greatly addressed by the Normandy.
I truly hope to see people like us in a UN conference passing something like this.
Taylor and I's we traveled 24 hours here, and I think it was all very worth it to come to this region of peace, to learn more about peace when we don't have peace.
I think Normandy now takes a special place in our heart because you introduce us to this world.
Mengual. Lolita Kouchen. Ashini.
Georgina Alicando. Fatima Asif. Ahmad Ali. Vika Krishna. Alejandra Bonhomme. Camila Badra. Camila Badra. Skaya Hassan. Ornella Signori.